We also had a Computer for Kids project where we were able to refurbish about 70 computers to donate to several education districts. Marcus Sanatan, he is an alumni of the Quick to Start project. He was part of our flagship projects, including our adult technology literacy program, where we sought to empower adults who knew little about technology and assisted them to be comfortable to be digital literate and to become more comfortable with technology. And he also conceptualized, created the content, and executed our other flagship project, which is the Programming for Teenagers project. He worked on this project between 2017 and 2019, and that project graduated approximately 70 students. Without further ado, I'm going to just jump right into the bio of Marcus, and then I would hand over him to introduce the topics that he will be introducing today. And I will also just go through some house rules in terms of asking questions and those type of things. So I'll now introduce Marcus. Has a BSc in AI and Computer Science honors from the University of Edinburgh. He's a senior software engineer. Marcus Sanatan solves problems with software for businesses at the cutting edge of technology. With over 6 years of experience, his expertise spans across multiple industries, including fintech, real estate, and the ever-evolving gaming sector, particularly virtual reality. He's passionate about pushing the boundaries of technology to create mobile applications, custom business tools, and immersive experiences. So we asked Marcus to share a fun fact that we would be able to share with the audiences. And his fun fact was, and he could probably explain it to us, I thought green figs were different from bananas. Until my 20s, am I the only one? So we could probably ask the audience to raise their hands so we would find out, if he really was the only one or if there are persons right now who thought green figs were different from bananas. So I just hand over to Marcus right now. Just a little housekeeping rules. If you have any questions, please raise your hand or you could type it in the chat. If you do type it in the chat, just stop sharing here. If you do type it in the chat, if you could just start it with some abbreviated form of question, so I would know it's a question, and either myself or Marcus would endeavor to address the question. So you could type it with just a second. Right, you could type it. You could begin your question with this prefix if you want, or raise your hand, right? So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Marcus as he continues this very informative session on artificial intelligence. Marcus?
Hi, everyone. Just a good afternoon. Just to begin with, let's be real, green fig eater with provisions. Is it really like a fruit? Let's just be honest with ourselves here. Green fig is not a banana, all right? But I'm not a scientist, so we can have other experts come on Click to Start to discuss that further, right? So first thing first, I really appreciate you for taking the time out coming in today. It's a lunch and learn. We know that there are other things you could be doing with your time. Sorry, just give me one quick sec. Right. And in this talk, we're just going to talk about AI. Everyone is hearing about AI all the time. It's all over the news. Your friends are talking about it. You're probably using more AI tools that you have done in like the last 2 or 1 year than you've done all before in like your time, right? So yeah, this came about, this idea of this talk came about as I'm a software developer, and in July I began a transition away from my job. And I have a good background, a respectable CV on LinkedIn, and it's like nice skills. When you leave a job, you have more time to learn new skills as well and kind of reinvent how you appear to people A lot of cool things happen in software dev landscape. However, applying to jobs suck. Like they're really tedious. It's really long and drawn out. And what I hate about applying for jobs is writing cover letters. That thing irritates me because they're like, "Oh, why you're a good fit?" I'm a good fit because I want money and I want to like work. So like I do good work so I can get money. I'm giving you my time for money. That should be obvious, but every application is asking me for a cover letter. And like the first couple applications, like, okay, I have a kind of template and you adapt it in a nice way and you get this cover letter to them. I was like, yo, it's 2024. There must be an easier way for me to get cover letters for all these different jobs because I'm applying. I want to apply to like a lot of jobs. Like when you don't have a job, finding a new job is your job, right? So this talk is really about how I use AI to help in my job search and actually quite successfully too. Yeah, so it's not a theoretical talk about AI. That said, I am very keen to explain and demystify some really key concepts about AI. I don't want you to walk out of here still thinking it's a black box and know how to use it. You should know like some key concept of how the black box works. It's not like magic and stuff. It's just like there's a structure and a reason for everything about it. It's not a theoretical talk. It will only be at a high level. I want everyone to follow as much as possible. But the key thing I'm going to demonstrate is like how you can use the tool to make your life easier effectively as I'm doing for myself. And yeah, I just want to, give some thanks and praises. I click to start. Thank you for having me here. I'm very honored to present with them on this platform. For those who do not know, Click to Start is an NGO that closes the digital divide, particularly for marginalized groups. It was founded in 2014, starting with a class that kind of taught senior citizens how to use computers, how to use phones and social media, and really helping senior citizens communicate with their family and friends on these new platforms. And then it added a programming class for teenagers. And that's like just the start. We have like, they're like computer donation drives. They literally donated devices to children in need in over 10 schools across the two islands of Trinidad and Tobago. And I think they did that in a collaboration with Rotarac. And they do hamper drives as well. And they have more programs. All these programs are free of charge. Like it's people, lovely people in Trinidad and Tobago doing things for the love of it, So please big up Click to Start when you can. Follow them on social media, share their content, reach out to see how you can donate and support their causes. I volunteered, as you heard, I volunteered with Click to Start some years back, and I can tell you, like, you actually saw lives being changed. That like was a magical experience. So especially if you have some technology skills, reach out to volunteer. Yeah, just to like quickly say hi again. I'm going to do a super brief recap. I'm Marcus Sanatan. I was born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago, went to UWI Primary School, then Trinity College East, and BATC sixth form. So I'm a BATC student for 7 years. I actually did my undergraduate degree in artificial intelligence at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. Graduated in 2014, and I've been working since then. So I was like 10 years of work. The first 3 were in government and telecommunications, and the last 7 was kind of directly as a software developer. And so yes, I have a degree in AI some good few years ago. I'm really interested in AI because with 2 of my friends, I recently founded an AI company. It's an AI assistant. It's called CoPlay, and it's an AI co-pilot for game development. So essentially, how people are accustomed to asking ChatGPT for answers or letters. My friends and I are building a tool that allows you to talk to a game engine, something that builds games, a tool that builds games called Unity, and it actually builds the game for you. So you just like, you kind of think about the game you want, you tell it what game you want, and it'll build the game for you. And as you could imagine, I'm like fully immersed in everything AI. When you have an AI company, you kind of have to be, you kind of have to know some advanced techniques to make it very helpful for developers. You also kind of have to make it very fast and scalable and cost effective. So I'm into like a lot of AI stuff right now. And just like a brief heads up about this presentation, I'm just gonna like define what AI is. I think that's completely fair. Again, it's not going to be technical. However, I'm just going to do a recap of some AI developments. Large language models is what we're really talking about here. Like ChatGPT is a large language model. Claude, Anthropic, these are large language models. That's like the term they use. They didn't just happen in a vacuum. There's a reason like how it came about. There's like a lineage and a history and why it works. So I'm just kind of going to help you appreciate why these things work as well as they do. Again, not too into a lot of technical bolts and everything like that. It's just like, hey, I understand what it's doing to some degree. I understand why it's giving me these responses, right? And then we're actually going to go hands-on. I'm actually going to share with you what I did to use ChatGPT to write my cover letters, like just have me not think about it. And really, and this was like generic cover letters, like, you know, like when you have students and you ask a student for an essay, they're probably immediately going to go on ChatGPT and copy and paste and just be like, what is this generic robotic stuff like that? Like, no, like I got ChatGPT to write cover letters as I write them. And like that was very helpful because that means I have to like edit it for like a couple of minutes to just kind of submit it. So that was like a real big time saver. And yeah, and of course I'm happily to show like that framework of how I got cover letters is really applicable for anything. So if you want, we can definitely like show it to other cases as well at the end of the talk. But of course, we have some challenges and considerations of large language models. So once we talk about it, we'll kind of get to that as well. And a brief talk about the future. AI or not, we should always be looking ahead and seeing what the future looks like and kind of orient what future we want and what's looking like, how it's shaping up, how the wind is blowing, and kind of orient ourselves now. Yeah, so I think that's okay for an introduction. Let's get into it. I kind of love this quote. It's from Arthur C. Clarke. He is an author best known for co-writing 2001: A Space Odyssey. Where he does novels and stuff as well. So any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And that it resonates a lot with me. There are some like tools that I use, some AI tools that I use that really feel magical. I'm like, whoa, this is futuristic. This is like, I am, yeah, it really blows my mind. However, I'm a programmer, right? There is no magic with programming. Anything that's ones and zeros can be explained to some degree. Like there's a way we can reason about things that happen on a computer, right? And yeah, let's talk about what is AI. I actually can't remember the friend. I think it was a flatmate. I believe like I dropped something in the kitchen, and because my degree had AI in it, my flatmate like put his hand on my shoulder and was like, "You are artificially intelligent, Marcus." That's actually a bad example of what AI is. AI is not an insult for your flatmates or your favorite politicians. AI is essentially like a branch of computer science, right? It's like a sub-discipline of computer science, similar to how physics is a branch of science or statistics is a branch of mathematics. It's like a field umbrella term, and it's really concerned with the theory and methods that allow machines to think and act like humans. And that's actually quite wide, right? Thinking and acting like humans could mean very different things. That's why it's like a good umbrella. So, for example, let's say I have a robot that kind of like, you know how babies watch us and then they try to walk and they start to walk and stuff too? Let's say we have a robot that watches how humans walk, or we train it on how humans walk, and it starts to like walk like us, like it leverages gravity, it bends the knee and everything. That It's an example of AI. It's mimicking the human behavior of movement. Even so, for animals, like there are robots that move like snakes. That's a good example of AI. It's mimicking like intelligent behavior. And then we have, and like from the environment, you can have example. Let's say you have you don't want to get a matchmaker. You're having a hard time finding a romantic partner, but the matchmaker a bit too old school. So you go on this app, and this app asks you to fill a profile, and you tell it its hobbies and likes and your dislikes, and put pictures up, and it shows you. It's like, okay, you like hiking. Let me show you potential romantic partners who also like hiking, right? That's like a AI tool as replacing a human matchmaker, right? Or replacing the aspect of humanity, a part of the aspect of dating, right, with humanity. So like AI tools could encompass quite a large amount of things. I think the key takeaway I want to have here, when you hear AI, think of these two things. Think of autonomous agents, like things acting on themselves, and think of self-learning systems. So key takeaway, what is AI? It's like autonomous agents, self-learning system, it's an umbrella term, right? So usually we have these kind of introductory lectures about AI and ChatGPT and large language models. And what they'll say is like, this is AI, this is generative AI. Generative AI is AI that creates new content. That is completely true. That's not false at all. Like it kind of makes sense, like words as well. But there were a lot of advancements in AI that's being skipped over to just be like, yeah, generative AI just like makes these things. And if you just do that, you kind of don't even appreciate the problems and benefits that large language models can actually offer. So again, I'm going to keep it high level, but we're going to kind of go through some layers of AI that allow us to reach the chat GPT, right? So we have computer science, we have AI, and within AI, we have something called machine learning, right? What is machine learning? It's like this subfield of subset of subfield of computers of AI, where you have algorithms that extract patterns from data, right? What does that mean? Okay, for comparison, I'm a programmer. Like, let's say I'm creating an app. This app would be like, I'm telling the app if the user clicks on a plus button, add this item to the cart so that they can pay for it later. In traditional programming, us developers tell the computer what to do, what output we want. With machine learning, what we do is that we train a model on data, and after training it, it can give us output on new data it hasn't seen before. We don't have to tell it what to do because we trained it, right? Okay, Marcus talking about models and things. So when I say model, I don't mean an attractive person on Instagram or TikTok or on the billboard. In this context, when I say model, and anytime someone says model in AI, think of it like as a mathematical function. Remember in school days, you had f of x equals blah, blah, blah. So when we say model, think of it as like a math function or like a combination of mathematical functions, right? That's like, say, model. And when we say training, it's like, you know how like, yeah, like if someone's training you how to swim, they show you how to get your technique. I was like, no, put your thing up, breathe on the side, and these kind of things. And then over time, they could kind of swim on their own. Like we take the math functions, we give it input, we see the output, we'd be like, that's not the output I want. Let me adjust the math function until it kind of gives me the output that I kind of want to see, right? So same way like how we train humans to do stuff, or we were trained ourselves, we can train math functions and tweak them until it kind of gives us the output we want, right? Again, kind of arbitrary, but let's give me some real examples because you've probably interacted with machine learning a lot of times without even like knowing or explicitly knowing it was machine learning. So let's say I'm sending you a bunch of emails that are crap and you start marking my emails as spam. The next time I send you, after 5 times you call me spam, the 6th time, Gmail or Outlook is going to be like, hey, this is a spam message from Marcus, right? I'm going to ignore this. That's actually an example of like machine learning. You kept labeling this type of email as spam, and the email provider learned that this email from the sender, or maybe like Marcus is asking me for $1,000 for one Bitcoin, that doesn't make sense. Like those things are spammy emails, let's classify it as spam so it doesn't go to their inbox, right? That's a good example of machine learning that's been there for years, right? You have like Spotify. Spotify has like a bunch of music in the systems, and one of the features it has is like it creates a playlist for you automatically with music of a similar mood. So if I want chill reggae, you get a little Chronics and Protege and thing like that, maybe some old school or something like that too. It's because Spotify looks at a bunch of characteristics of like the songs, like this beat, this tempo, the instruments it use, and it kind of groups songs into like things. Like this is like a chill reggae group. And these kind of things are like, or a group of chill, a group of reggae, and the intersection is chill reggae. So when I give a playlist about chill reggae, like that is actually machine learning in action. I don't see it, but it's done for me by Spotify. And of course, like we have like this kind of next kind of AI, which I'm very familiar with, like playing games and stuff like that. I think there was this really big story back in the day when an AI beat like an IBM chess master from Russia. I think Deep Blue is called. The IBM Deep Blue AI beat a chess master from Russia. That's because the AI like would simulate or play a bunch of chess games, and every time it would kind of learn um, how it won, how it lost, and develop new strategies on how to win, because that was his goal. So like, and those examples are AIs you're probably interacting with, and they're actually like also three different classes of AI as well. I'm not going to get technical, as I said, but you've been looking at machine learning quite a lot. And the key takeaway I want to give you is that machine learning takes data as input, use a match function, and they give us some kind of output we want, right? Again, like any examples, the output could be, is it spam or not? The output could be a playlist of similar songs. It's different things. It depends on us. Data as input, match functions, some kind of output, and we can refine these match functions. That's called training. Okay, cool. I hope you're all with me. Let's gonna go into another layer. So computer science, AI, machine learning, we have something called deep learning. And it's actually a really important subset of machine learning, right? And it's about extracting complex patterns of multiple layers of neural networks. Whoa, Marcus, you tell me not too technical and you jump off the whole ledge. Yeah, honestly, I'm sorry, like it's really defined by technical terms, but don't worry, it's going to keep it high level. We're not going to nitty-gritty. So stick with me. I said neural network. What is that? It's like well, the word neural kind of triggers a thing because we have neurons in our brains. A neural network is like an AI model inspired by human brains. It's like, hey, how do human brains work? Let's try to simulate that with a computer. And turns out that simulation is really good, right? Neurons get input data, it processes them with mathematical functions, and it provides some output. And that's a machine learning algorithm, right? That's what machine learning does. We have this now model like human brains, and we call it a neural network. Cool. Um, and they're connected by edges, like which kind of based on the synapses that kind of connect our neurons and when they fire together and these kind of things. And when we say deep learning, why? Because we have layers of neural networks, like it's like neural network 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the idea of having layers is that we can kind of really get complex pattern matching. And yeah, again, sounds kind of arbitrary. Let me just let's take this picture for example. If I'm looking at this picture here, I'm like, hey, I'm giving it to a deep learning system. Is there a humanoid robot in the picture? The first neural network would be like, okay, these are edges in the pictures. It would just probably draw all the edges, like all the lines, every single line here. And then it takes all that edges, like the data, the image data, as well as the edges, and it goes to a second layer. And the second will be like, ooh, I have a bunch of edges. Do I see shapes in it? Like, yeah, I see a small circle, I see a next circle, I see a next circle. Then it goes to like a next layer, and it'll be like, are these shapes like connected? Are they combined into one shape? So like this would be an edge, this would be a shape, this entire wrist would be like a shape now, and this entire set of fingers would be like another shape, and then like a next level might combine it more. And essentially all like the they have this layer, It processes data, it gets some input, it gives you a new output. That output is used to help the second layer be smarter and do cooler things with it. And eventually, a neural network algorithm, like a deep learning algorithm, can tell us with some really good accuracy that, hey, yeah, there is a humanoid robot as that. Like it goes through this layered approach to kind of get kind of complex reasoning. For humans, it's easy to see that this is like a humanoid robot in the picture, but for computers aren't that smart by themselves. We have to kind of tell it what to do, or in this case, we train it how to see things. So I'm not going to get into deep learning too much. The key takeaway is that it uses maths to loosely mimic how the human brain works. And deep learning allows us to draw complex patterns from data, right? Okay, I hope you're all with me. Computer science, AI, machine learning, a branch of AI where data is the inputs, we train models, which are math functions, and get outputs. We have deep learning, which is like machine learning, where it can get really good inferences from data using some mathematical functions that mimic how the human brain works, and we get complex patterns, like complex output from them. And now we have something called large language models. This is a subset of deep learning, right? And like here it is, it's like large language models are trained on a lot of data. I guess that's why they call large. And they kind of understand and generate human-like language. The key thing here is that words are represented as vectors. Now, I appreciate that not everyone remembers their math classes about vectors and these kind of things. You might remember vectors being like curly braces and like a number on top of next number. A user thing might be to remember like points on a plane, like Cartesian plane, like when you're drawing like little lines and curves. Points are not vectors. Vectors are a bit more than that, but think about that. You have like an X and Y coordinate. Maybe in 3D
Hi,
you have X.
Marcus.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Marcus, sorry to
Yep.
disturb you. We're not seeing your screen if you are sharing a
Oh,
presentation right now.
yes, I was. That is horrible. Wow. That should have been happened, please. I'm so sorry, guys. And you
That's,
guys see this now?
yes, yes, we can.
Oh,
Thank you.
geez. Yeah. So, for context, this was like the fun little picture I was talking about, and I used my mouse and everything too, you know? But
Yeah,
it's
'cause
really fun
I
little
was
picture I was
wondering, and I
talking
was like,
about.
what we looking at,
Yeah.
really? Yeah, and
No, yeah,
my
this was a
message,
fun picture I was
man.
talking about. Yeah, no problem. So thanks for the message. I really appreciate that. Um, I I don't think for time I'll go back into everything. I'm happy to talk about it a bit more at the end. But in this case, yeah, I'm just gonna get back to large language models. And again, we only at a high level, no nitty-gritties, right? So AI, autonomous self-learning things, machine learning, data as input, we train math functions to get outputs. Deep learning, we use really nice math functions that look like human brains to do complex things. Large language models is a subset of deep learning. What we do is that we take a word, we treat a word as a mathematical object called vectors. And that's like the magic behind this thing, right? If we have human words like mathematical objects, all these algorithms I'm talking about are mathematical functions. So a computer can treat human language as maths. And that's the key takeaway I want you to get from large language models. Large language models are a system that can literally treat human words as mathematical objects and determine complex relationships using these words. And how does it work? Okay, let's say I say to a large language model, she read the book because it was interesting. What does the large language model do? The complex pattern matching allows it to say that it means the book. That's obvious for humans, right? If I said she read the book because it was interesting, it is not talking about a house, it's not talking about her, the subject, it's talking about the object, book. So that's what like large language models really do. It kind of gets those relationships between words. And it does that because words are mathematical objects. And when I say relationships and like picking up these relationships, I'm really talking about probabilities. It's picking up the most likely connection between words. It's all probabilities, right? And it's like interesting. So if I'm saying I'm going to the bank to get money. As a human, are you thinking about a riverbank? Oh, thinking about a riverbank. You're thinking about a financial institution, right? And this deep learning thing, this representation of our words in like a number, like a mathematical object with vectors, allows a computer to know that I'm talking about a financial institution. That's the key takeaway here. Okay? So I hope to all this talk with absolutely no slides and just my face making weird facial expressions, you're able to see that AI is not magic, right? AI is literally taking human data, real world data, in a mathematical form. And we use mathematical functions to derive relationships from them. And it's all done through probabilities, right? So when we say AI, we're talking about large language models, and that's the core of it, right? Large language models represent our knowledge, our words as maths, and use functions to get meaning from it. Okay, so I think somehow I think we're good there. And I'm happy to take questions about it later, of course. And yeah, now that we know that it's not like these tools have a brain like us, it's probabilities. We kind of have an idea of like, hey, it may not be perfect. If I'm probably correct about what I'm saying, that doesn't mean I'm right, right? So it's a tendency that AI like has hallucinations. Hallucinations mean that it can give you outright wrong information. Again, what is most probably correct doesn't mean is always correct. It may not be the most accurate response every time. And that's one thing we have to be mindful of. Part of the thing I'm showing you today is how to avoid hallucinations in your AI responses. AI has biases, right? Now, this is an interesting one. Sometimes it's political, and it really isn't. Let's say I have a lot of friends and family who are doctors, like women who are doctors and dentists. And it's not uncommon for these women who are doctors to be called nurse in the hospital, usually by like an older Trinbagonian male, right? So you imagine, let's say we take this, we want a large language model, and we train it by all these old Trinbagonian men in hospitals calling doctors nurses, right? So it's going to be like, okay, every time these men speak, it records it. Every time you're saying she in a hospital, they're talking about a nurse, right? So that's the thing, she, hospital, nurse. I remember these these words are like mathematical objects. So these words are close to each other mathematically. She, hospital, nurse. So if I ask in this hospital large language model, who is she? It's probably going to be a nurse because I keep saying nurse, nurse, she, hospital. Those things are so related, it pick up a bias, and that bias comes from us. Now it's interesting. We're in the Caribbean, we're in Trinidad and Tobago in particular, for the most part, we don't train large language models on our data. So we have biases from all over the world and from Reddit and 4chan and all kind of weird sources that, yeah, you don't want all this information coming into your large language model. But you have these biases just because humans have biases, they transfer to it, and all it does is pattern matching. So if our patterns have biases, the large language model will represent those biases, right? Data privacy is a big issue. Not a lot of these companies who create large language models aren't always honest about where they get the data from or if they had the right to get that data. It's not implausible for data that I created that I necessarily did not mean to share with OpenAI, at least not without getting paid for it, to be in OpenAI. And it's very hard for me to tell, like, hey, they took it exactly from me. And this is really hard for artists. A lot of visual artists in particular, especially when this kind of first got popularized, saw a lot of their work being ripped off, like the same exact style and everything, and even the objects. They might just change the hair type or something. And it were never contacted by companies about using their artwork. They never got credit for it. It just like people who typed in a prompt just got this art and they never told them, hey, this is because Sebastian gave us this painting. And they never got any money for it, right? So how are they going to live when people are just generating work that's like their work, but not actually from them? So a lot of challenges about data privacy. And large language models are a real energy drain. Some of you may have noticed from the news that Google, Microsoft, and Meta are literally buying nuclear power plants. I think small nuclear reactors, small modular reactors, because large language models require so much energy. We have a problem called global warming. Yeah, we in the Caribbean feel it very bad. And right now, a lot of fossil fuels are burning for ChatGPT. And a lot of water issues and a lot of like dam issues and these kind of things are being caused. There's no laughing matter. Training large language models is a very energy expensive endeavor. And so there are things being worked on it, but it is a challenge. And as climate change improves very slow pace, us in the Caribbean will feel a real impact from it. Um, However, it's not like all doom and gloom. For one, with these kind of tools like large language models, it's a lot easier to talk to a computer like a human, right? You don't have to be super specialized and know how to do X, Y, and Z anymore. You can just talk to like, hey, I want this and that, and it does it for you. That's kind of cool. And like I am, I guess, like neurotypical, physically able for the most part, and uh, people who are not as like who have special needs, for example, they may really appreciate having a more natural interface. It's like another option for them to interact and be productive and do things, right? Uh, Large language models are generative AI. So they create a lot of cool things. We're getting like not just text, we're getting audio from like we have like AI DJs that make up songs based on like other songs. We have videos. And for me, my favorite, AI generates so much code for me. I love the fact that after 7 years of being a software developer, I could write less code. I could just tell it, yo, give me this thing and that day and night, right? I can sleep at in theory I can sleep at peace. It doesn't actually happen, but yeah, it's I love that AI can generate a lot of these things, and I think it showed us that you know things that come from like ChatGPT, for example, that's the one I'm using today. It kind of it looks kind of robotic. It's like not perfect. You can kind of tell it's from ChatGPT if the techniques are very basic. But you know what? Good enough is surprisingly good enough. When you can just get like 80 or 90% of the boring work done, you can do more of the fun parts of making things exciting and just kind of, again, not have to spend your mental energy on kind of the crafty parts and just focus more on the fun parts. And I think that's the kind of cool part about it. So when something gets you so close to like good enough, like you can just take good enough to good. It's a lot easier from going from scratch to good. So I think that's really cool. And of course, yeah, so this profession of mine really came into fore because I like games and sci-fi and these kind of things. And this is one of my favorite games that really like Mega Man series got me into AI, robots, and then this kind of one where you had an AI assistant. This game literally is an AI assistant helping you fight viruses and stuff. So it's like all your little sci-fi dreams come true. I think that's actually really cool. Okay. So yeah, I think we have some appreciation. So sorry about the slide, but we have an appreciation for what AI is and the different levels and how we go to it. Oh, I see your hands raised. What's up?
Right. So just summarizing for everyone, in terms of using AI to make you more productive, what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying is it can do the tedious work, right? Make that easy, and as you say, good enough for your boss, good enough for the meeting, right? And then you could focus more on the fun, creative parts.
Well, capitalism, if you get fired because your boss find good enough is perfect, that's not AI fault, right? But in theory, yes, in a good working environment, you're right on the spot there.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Yeah. So right. So that's like the kind of theory part. I want you to just appreciate what it is, what it can do, some drawbacks. Let's take this moment to like ChatGPT. I want a walk. I'm tired of writing cover letters. How can I use AI to really help me just kind of take away the craft? Like I said, it's kind of boring for me So I want to get 90% there. If not 100%, at least 90%. I actually got 100% there, a few jobs. But like, yeah, at least 90% for some jobs. Give me a really good cover letter. And you know, again, so I've had to hire people as well. I've seen ChatGPT like cover letters like blatant where I'm like, wow, this person didn't even try. Like, I mean, they just sometimes they still have the placeholder from ChatGPT in it. I'm like, wow, this is just they didn't care. They didn't think I would read this cover letter. So sometimes employers and like hiring managers could tell, or can they? There's a way to make it better. And I'm going to talk in this demonstration is going to be on something called prompt engineering. That's like the new phase we're in, right? So prompt engineering are like techniques we can do to vastly improve the responses we get from large language models. It sounds like a buzzword because it is a buzzword. However, it actually has like value. It has like a real part to play in it. And like I said, I'm in a company that does like AI tools for game dev. We actually have to do really good prompt engineering to get what we want. So it's not just like a use case of me finding jobs. Any AI company that you see has a really good prompt engineering like behind it. And the idea is you need to communicate super effectively to a large language model to give you what you want, right? And the key thing is the more context you provide, the better the response. All right, cool. So I'm gonna make sure everyone's still seeing my screen. I'm here in ChatGPT. I actually use ChatGPT a lot. I even pay for it because I use it so much. Yeah, you don't see any chats here because I don't want you macroing my business. We're just starting from a fresh, clean slate. And we're going to actually, I'm literally going to show you the process of what I did with ChatGPT to get really good cover letters. All right. Okay. So you can literally just like walk up raps as we see in Trinidad and Tobago and be like, yeah, write a cover letter for me for a backend senior backend developer job. And ChatGPT would fairly quickly write a cover letter. So if you're applying for a job at my company, don't ever do this. Please. This is like what they call like basic or zero shot prompting. For a cover letter, it's a bit too raw. Now, to give ChatGPT credit, it has like a lot of the key structures of cover letters. It's probably trained on writing cover letters. So it has like an introduction about the position and who you're applying to. It has like a title it kind of made up. Um, oh, I think this one actually remembers who I am because it's something a bit oddly specific here. Hmm. Okay, that's interesting. I don't think I did that part yet. But yeah, in this case, it remembers who I am. But it's fairly, like, it's okay. It's a bit bland. It has a lot of placeholders. We can actually do a bit better than this, right? This is what they call like zero shot prompting. I just like a pretty kind of bland start on these kind of things. What I might do, like naturally, you'd be like, all right, that's not the best resume. It doesn't know too much about me. I'm probably going to like follow up with it. Okay. Yeah, I'm a PostgreSQL expert. I do a lot of backend work. With AWS, right? Oh, just checking, yeah. And I'm kind of describing myself more. I do have some somewhat pre-written prompts here. So I'm just going to kind of put it in just to save time. I don't want to just type everything over and over again. And ChatGPT can revise the cover letter and make it a bit more specific. Like that's why it has like, oh, a VR gaming company and these kind of fun things, right? Okay, cool. So this is like, you get a very basic response and then you kind of get this more fun response that's a bit more attached to it because you added more data about yourself. So let's try like a new thing with a kind of better approach to it, right? We're starting over a new conversation. And what we want to do is be a bit more serious with context. And what does that mean? It means that I'm going to tell ChatGPT to start with what the objective of this conversation is. I'm going to clearly define an objective. And then I'm going to give it a persona. I'm like, this is what you're doing, and this is who you are. And this kind of really kind of automatically grabs context. It gives us like a better starting point for ChatGPT, right? So let's think about cover letters. Cover letters are read by some HR people, HR talent acquisition, may read cover letters. They might be like, okay, cool. I'm looking for skills. If this job is a Python job, I want my cover letter to say Python in it, right? And they might check that off. A hiring manager would be like, okay, it made this far. Let me check and see what the person did, if they had an impact, right? So we kind of have this audience for a cover letter. A cover letter is written by me, a software developer in this case. I mean, different professions, you just adapt it for your profession. It's completely fine. We're actually going to give that context to the AI assistant. We're going to tell it, it's writing a cover letter, it's writing it for a software developer, and this is going to be read by like people who are hiring managers and talent acquisitions, right? Okay. So in this case, yeah, I'm literally going to, again, have these prompts somewhat pre-made to save time. I'm like, yeah, you're an assistant to a software developer looking for a job. I'm unemployed. You're excellent at copyright and can write convincing cover letters that highlight the experience of a software developer and what value I can add to the team. A mindset, a persona. And what happens when we press enter here? This response is day and night. It's not blurting out a cover letter that's generic. It's saying, hey, give me details about the job you're applying for. A cover letter is contextual. It depends on my skills. It also depends on the job I'm applying for and the match between that. So ChatGPT with just that understanding of what its output is, as well as who it is, kind of can guide me now into actually providing more useful, relevant information, right? So I think like already here, we're kind of on a better place, right? So let me just kind of go back here. Let's say senior backend developer job, and let's just copy that senior backend developer job, and I'll copy this. All right, cool. So I'm just going to put this here. A bit about who I am is for senior backend developer job. And because of that, so this might be similar to the second prompt, but because it's already prefixed, it kind of, the first response is just 10 times better. It has key things. It has, like, again, same structure and everything, but it has key things about me and the AWS services and all these things that I do off the bat, about like communication and these kind of things off the bat. So that's the thing I want you to get with. When you're starting off with a prompt, tell ChatGPT or whatever tool you're using what it's creating and who it is. And if you can, who you're doing it for. Okay, so far so good. Cover letters actually have like a few kind of fun rules and stuff as well. So yeah, I'm going to keep cheesing off the first response here. And what is a good cover letter? I don't know how many people here have hired other people before. They're like good cover letters have strong, exciting opening statements. They kind of tell you why you want the job and what you bring to the table. Cover letters are quite short. I mean, nobody wants to read I don't like to read no novel when I have to review 10 cover letters. I want something to the point, you know. I'm an 18 player. You know, I am a ninja who rides a unicorn. Like you want to kind of get to the point quickly and be like, this is exciting. I'm a really cool person. Hire me now, right? So you want to be succinct. And you kind of want to highlight accomplishments. The accomplishments tells people it's like, hey, you do really important things at an organization. So that's like good things a cover letter does. Cover letter should not do some things, right? It should not try to be funny. It should not like sound too generic and thing. It shouldn't sound like it's a copy and paste thing. I mean, everyone knows it's a copy and paste at some point, either from your last cover letter or from ChatGPT. But you don't want it to sound and be like, is this something I sent to 10 people at the same time? You know, it's like you want it to sound kind of personalized, right? And also like you're trying to tell this company you're excited to join them, but don't gas them up too much. I mean, nobody like the teacher's pets. We know you want money, like ease them up, these kind of things. These guidelines actually came from Harvard Business Review. I got that from a good article. Something I read before that I can apply it. So actually, I'm actually going to send these guidelines to ChatGPT. And that's actually important. We're building these things here. I'm giving ChatGPT parameters. I'm giving it kind of rules to follow about the cover letter, right? And that's actually something that really helps. A cover letter should do certain things. It should not do certain things. Parameters kind of, again, like it's like, hey, a large language model has data from a lot of places. It can produce data of different types. So you kind of streamlining it into this particular type of things. Like I want a cover letter that only has these characteristics, that is short, that is to the point, that is exciting at the start, that highlights my achievements. But don't try to bust no joke in it. Don't try to be no funny person and thing. It says, I need a job today, my mortgage due tomorrow, right? We need to kind of get this going. Rules are important. Now, hear me out. We have these rules here. About the cover letter itself. Does it make sense for me to ask for a cover letter without even knowing what I've done in my history, without a resume? No, that don't make no sense at all. And you know what? We can tell ChatGPT it don't make sense. You can tell ChatGPT only provide a cover letter if you have a CV in memory. So basically, ChatGPT should not now present, ask for one. ChatGPT will no longer, with these rules, present a cover letter without me giving very clear instructions of what I am, right? And I think another thing too, we can also add, only provide a cover letter if you have a job description. Again, that kind of makes sense. Ask for one. What we're going to do is that ChatGPT has these parameters. It will only provide cover letters if it has my CV and the job description. And I'm not going to waste his time. It's not going to waste my time. Once I have these, it'll have it. Okay, cool, no problem. Let me do this one here. I'll put up my CV. I'm so glad I don't have anything inappropriate on my computer. I'm glad. I'm sharing it here. Right? I'm loading my CV as a PDF. This was a pretty, it was just a decent job I saw. I think it's from Ubisoft, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna literally copy and paste the job description here. A team lead. Yeah. Actually, I'll put the company description too. That might be somewhat usefully job because we want to kind of, not that I'm excited for the role, I'm excited for the actual company and the role, right? All right. That was a pretty quick response. Oh God, all my business too, you know. But look, I don't have to reply with my personal details because my CV has them. It can automatically, you know, all those placeholders, no more placeholders. It automatically fills out the placeholders because it knows too much. I mean, yeah, feel free to send me emails, but those spam, I will mark you as spam. My machine learning algorithm is very efficient. But yeah, you can have all my information. So I'm not typing over my email again when I'm asking for a cover letter. It just has it one time. It has all the information about the company, the exact position I'm applying for, where I'm applying for it. These details come from my CV. 30K monthly recurring revenue from a backend thing I developed. It's exactly there. That's an achievement because I said your rule is to highlight my achievements. And that achievement was in my CV. It automatically does it. There are literally no placeholders here. None. I accept the date. And it has all the relevant skills. It's literally matching the skills in the job description with my CV. This is a pretty good cover letter. And honestly, at this point, if I really wanted to, I could have copy and paste this and slap it up and send it one time and finish the application. And it's really good. However, we have a little bit more magic we could do. Right? We already have a lot better prompt response from ChatGPT because I prompted it with rules and guidance of what information it needs. I gave it a rule and I gave it a clear objective, right? So what else can we do with ChatGPT to really bring in the magic? All right, let's go. This one. Let's try this again. Just copy and paste it for now. Right. Oh, wait a minute. I feel like I missed some copy and paste too. One sec. Ah, there we go. Right. There's something else that you can do that makes your prompts magical, the magic in AI. And a key thing, and I, as someone who developed probably 3 or 4 AI apps, including the company I'm working with, this is actually super critical in making your large language models respond really well. In addition to all these things that we've done before, add an example. The more examples you add, the merrier. But an example does wonders. Example, this is a job I applied for. Right? I'm going to take this job. This is our next page here. Oh, sorry. Just so you can see. This Runway is an AI company. Obviously, I didn't go for it because I have my own company now, but it was really cool. The salary was pumping. Maybe that's one of the reasons I applied to it. Right? Yeah. So this is a job I applied for. This is the whole description of the job. This is the job description here. I was in US. Like, if you want to apply for a job, I wholeheartedly encourage you to apply for that job at Runway. And yeah, I'm actually going to put what I'm going to do is that I have a cover letter, and this cover letter was part of the reason, amongst the other parts of my application, that got me an interview with Runway. And this is the cover letter I use to get this interview. I'm telling ChatGPT, look at this job description. Look at this cover letter as an example. And what you have is a super highly trained ChatGPT assistant that not only writes a relevant cover letter, because it's going to ask me for my CV as well and the job description, a relevant cover letter with my experience is not only going to have the relevant details for the job description I'm sharing, it's going to have my voice. It has an example about how I like to write CVs. And in practice, I actually gave it more examples of how I write CVs. So you can see that for this job description, I write CVs this way. For this job description, so when I did it for real, I gave it like 4 examples, right? So I'm telling ChatGPT, for these job descriptions, I like an output like this. So what we have here, I'm going to give it my CV again, right? And let's kind of copy and paste this one. Oh, it's kind of got a bit dumb here, but no problem. All right. What is the key difference here is doing all the things, but this is actually how I write my letters. I can tell it's literally writing more like me. And that's the kind of key thing with examples. Examples give it the output you want. So let me give you a separate like case study, right? Let's say you're a teacher or some kind of manager and you have to do performance appraisals, right? You're going to be like, hey, ChatGPT, you're writing performance appraisals. You are an expert manager with this much years experience in this kind of school, in this kind of demographic. Your teachers are doing this kind of things, right? This is a profile of a teacher's year, and this is how I responded to that. And you can tell ChatGPT how to respond to different types of quality teachers, I guess, and gives you different performance appraisals. And when ChatGPT responds now, it's a performance appraisal in your voice. It knows how you write, so it writes like you. So this for me was like the key thing. It's not just everything is important in this prompt, right? But the examples got it to the point where I'm like, I can legitimately copy and paste this to a point. And the more examples I added, the more copy and pasteable it was because it was like me writing. It literally writes it like me. So that for me is like the one like super magical kind of thing I wanted to you guys to know and share. Right? Now, however, again, it's the year 20, as the lawyers would say, the year of our Lord 2024. I'm a man who kind of fed up copy and pasting this thing here and writing it for new chat. So like, I don't want to just write it in a chat. I'm maybe applying for a job now. I don't want to find this conversation again. I may be applying for it later. Um, I just want to have something that I can just quickly ask for a cover letter whenever I need one, right? So right, there's actually a really cool feature in ChatGPT. I'm not sure if the other tools have it, was essentially taking the same concept of how we built a good prompt and let's try to kind of automate it. So I'm going to go to my GPTs. I'm going to create a new one. Cover letter. I'm going to keep it local. Cover letter Banton, right? And give us more description. Post cover letter writing champion for a senior full stack software developer. And the instructions. What are the instructions? The instructions are the entire prompt that we were crafting. The prompt that has its role, it has the persona or ChatGPT, the same prompt that tells it the rules of how it should respond and what it should not do. So remember, it's like, again, kind of like a human. You tell humans what to do, like say good morning when you walk inside the room. You tell humans what not to do. Like, like don't just come and pick up food from the ground and eat it. It has a lot of germs and bacteria. You're telling your AI assistant what to do and what not to do. And you give it explicit rules, right? So I could be like, oh, this is a rule that's interesting. I could be like, oh, only provide a cover letter if you have a CV in memory. I'm like, use the CV that's uploaded in memory because we can upload files. So I'm creating this custom GPT and yeah, only provide a cover letter, a typo. I'm so glad it's smart enough to figure out I had a typo. I meant cover letter and not cove letter. If you have a job description, ask for one. And it has the same example, right? A conversation starters, you can probably add those to make it more human friendly when you sharing it. It's fine. I'm going to upload my CV here. Nice. And you can make it pretty and these kind of things. Now, this feature is just a context, is this action thing here. I think this feature of custom GPTs is really about actions. It allows like Facebook or Canva or some other third party to hook up their APIs with it. So like it allows, like let's say I have a company, I want you to use ChatGPT to interact with my company. The actions is what this feature is really about. That's more for companies though. For us, like personal, we create these custom GPTs so that we don't have to repeat ourselves, right? So here we are. I'm creating this GPT called Cover Letter Banton. It's really in my case, like it's my CV, it's very specific to like my career path and everything else. I'm only sharing for me. However, you can share it with other people privately with a link, or you could put it in your GPT store to share it with the whole world so that everyone could laugh at your GPT and feel embarrassed in public. All right? The internet is a cruel place, kids. Be careful what you put online. But I'm just going to create this GPT here and view it. And what does it mean is like, look at this cool thing here. So you create a new chat with ChatGPT or stuff like that. I have cover letter Banton. Anytime I want a cover letter now, I could just go to cover letter Banton and be like, give me a cover letter because I'm a CV, right? I think, yeah. So let's try it again. Give me a cover letter for this job. And paste the job. One time, no stick, slapper, chopper. Remember that old school thing? That's how old I am, guys. That was popular back in my day. Slap and chop and stripness like that. But like this thing here already has all the context. Look at the headings it have here and look at the example CV I gave it with headings. It has all my history. Fact that from the Caribbean, the fact that I use the technology because my CV already saved in it. And it'll always use my CV. So literally, this is what I did to apply to like 180 jobs. I kid you not. I applied to 180 because I tracked them on an Excel sheet. After the first three, I stopped writing cover letters because I was over it. I literally took this thing, I created this system, created all these prompts, following these guidelines, and then created my own custom ChatGPT assistant, tailor-made into writing cover letters in my style. It has all my experience, it has all the context of the job description, and it writes it like me. And what it meant is that anytime I wanted a cover letter, I quickly would type it in, and it would take me 2 minutes to edit it, and I could submit my application. That's why I could apply to 180 applications, because I could do 10, 15 a day. So this is like the magic with custom GPTs, right? All right, cool. I think yeah, this is kind of the demonstration I wanted to see. I do see a hands raised. If you're allowed to speak or ask a question, please do.
Hi, sir. Good day, Mr. Sanatan.
Sanatan.
Am I saying it
Yeah.
correct?
Mhm.
I was waiting for you to finish up this area. I hope I didn't interject too fast.
No
I'm
worries.
founder of a particular foundation, and I have a lot of my guys in the presentation right now, but they are Form 5 students. I wanted to ask a question. I know it wasn't on the topic, and I understand if it can't veer off too far.
Mhm.
What is the usability, and specific to those boys, what is the usability of ChatGPT, and how can they integrate it into their daily school activities as a Form 5 student?
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. It's actually somewhat related to the next part of my presentation. So I'm just going to wrap up the thought, and I'm actually going to do an example like that, right? That's actually a good example that we'll do. So awesome. I think generally, I just want to, let me just open up the slide again so that the message is super clear for everybody. And this time, all right, I spent so much time on these slides, or you're going to see slides, so I want to aside, right? The key thing is that a really good prompt gives you amazing, personal, like precise responses from large language models, right? I'm just going to reiterate everything I'm saying it. I'm saying it over again because I want you to kind of grasp it. You give the large language model an objective. You give it a role, like how we have jobs in a company, in an organization. You give it a role and a persona. Is it lighthearted? Is it serious? You give it rules on how it should behave. If you need to ask the user for a question, like I need to give it a job description to write a cover letter. So don't write one without getting a job description first. Give it rules on how to behave. Give it a structure on the output too. Like tell it like, hey, a cover letter is short and these kind of things like that. Like if you have a process that has you have to write a report that's an introduction and methodology and these kind of things, tell ChatGPT, I need these 5 headers. Only give me documents with these 5 headers. You have to structure the output. And then the best thing is to give it an example of your work. Give it examples of your work so that it can do really good, precise output. Like the examples really help it be like, this is what this person wants. And again, with ChatGPT in particular, after you have a really good prompt, if you're going to do that same thing more than once, like 5 times or something, create a custom GPT with all the data, all the files uploaded, and all the prompts that you need that you work on. So you don't have to repeat yourself. And what you have is that, like, I take a small amount of time to create this custom. Look how quickly we created a custom GPT. And now I can generate super precise cover letters in an instant. So that's the magic there. And I like that Mr. Bartholomew reached out with the question for Form 5 students. With students, sorry, I'm just exit this full screen here. With students, it's an interesting thing, right? Your job as a student is to learn. So my objective with this cover letter custom GPT was to get cover letters. Your job as a student is to learn a topic. And what we're going to do, I'm going to spend a bit of time here. I'm going to craft a prompt that lets ChatGPT teach me a topic, right? Okay, cool. Let's say I am a Form 5 student. Boy, I am too old to remember what Form 5 students do, but I figured if you did add maths, you probably have to do derivatives, right? Okay, cool.
Marcus, why don't we take a question from one of the Form 5s,
sure.
what they would.
Sure. If any of these students here willing to ask a question, let's craft a prompt of how ChatGPT can help you.
Mr. Bartholomew, don't be afraid to volunteer someone as well.
Sorry, I believe custom GPTs are in the free version as well. I may be wrong with that because I've been paying for a while, but I believe they're free for everyone. I just saw that question in the thing. Open to questions. What would a phone person like to learn?
Come, Justin, you can ask a question, Squires.
Big up, Justin. Handle yourself.
Mr. Cunningham, feel free, ask a question.
Today, ask a question today, please. I know it's a lunch salon for you, but as you can imagine, when you're presenting, not having lunch now, so yeah.
Bartholomew, you could probably ask a question on their behalf.
Okay, well, I know with integration with some of the boys, I know right now is SBA modes. So
right.
sometimes they would study, hey, how could ChatGPT assist with my SBAs and that kind of thing. But I know Mr. Sanatan also mentioned the importance of learning a topic and that kind of thing. So the question is it wise at this stage for them to look towards ChatGPT, or can they at this stage integrate it into their processes?
Yes, okay, excellent then. Right. Is it wise for to look at ChatGPT? Unfortunately, they already are. You can argue is it wise to be on TikTok for 10 hours a day? But kids are on TikTok all the time. I do think there's value in meeting people where they are. It is wise to use ChatGPT at this stage, but you just have to be honest. I can ask ChatGPT, for an answer to a question, or I can ask ChatGPT to help me understand something. And there is a huge difference. So let's do this here. It's like you're an AI assistant for a biology class. I'm a student in the Caribbean in Form 3.
Marcus, we're not seeing your screen.
I'm so glad that we had this conversation early o'clock. I really appreciate that, right? So yeah, you can see it now, right? So I'm actually telling ChatGPT, I'm giving it its rule. You're an AI assistant for biology class.
We
I'm a
get it
student
a
in
little
Form 3.
bigger. Is it possible to get it just a little bigger?
Oh.
I don't know if it's my
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah. Is this better for everyone? Right?
Yeah, good
Is this
for
good?
me. Could
Nice.
we see a thumbs up? Thanks.
Nice. So I'm telling ChatGPT who it is. I'm giving a bit of context about who I am, who's struggling with bio. I'm going to tell the output. I want you to teach me biology concepts. I want to understand them in simple language. I'm giving it an objective, right? And that's part of the prompt. So it has an objective, it has a persona, right? Be gentle, as I'm not confident. I'm giving it rules. Ask me questions to clarify if I understand. Use images, if possible, to explain a concept. Right? I'm giving it a structure and these kind of things. Right? Short, helpful. This is like a bit of the output. Write short, helpful sentences with links to resources so I can read further. I'm giving it little paragraphs and I want it to kind of give me some links I can read. I'm not going to take ChatGPT word for it. I'm going to give it like a thing. Off the top of my head, I don't have an example, but if I had an example of a really good text, like maybe from a textbook or something, you can add this, right? And again, we prompted ChatGPT to have a lot of concepts. Off the top, it kind of blurting off some things here, but it's starting off very simple. It already telling me what biology is in a very simple way because it knows I'm a Form 3 student. So you could probably talk about plants and animals and bacteria. Bacteria is not a word a 5-year-old will know, but a Form 3 Caribbean student will probably know what bacteria is, right? And it's starting simple and then going for things. Can you name one thing all living things do? Is asking me a question. So, Mr. Bartholomew, what you do is that you teach students how to prompt ChatGPT effectively so that they can learn. The key thing is that the tool will give you something, but the more you give it, the more you get out. So if I'm a student, my objective isn't to achieve my SBA. My objective is to understand photosynthesis in this environment or solar energy and these kind of things. I actually want to understand what I'm writing about. So you prompt ChatGPT to teach you. There have been times I had an interview, a test with Node.js and a database called MongoDB, and I couldn't find good articles on it, like on my usual spots. And I asked ChatGPT, I give him a CV and my background, I tell it I know Node.js and these kind of things, but I don't know a database. Give me example projects that teach me how to do it and give me startup steps. And ChatGPT taught me how to learn this new technology. As an adult, my objective was to learn how to use a new database so I could pass the interview when I'm talking with my interviewer too. So I can't BS it. I have an oral exam on the code I write in. You can't just cheese it. My objective was to learn. So if I tell ChatGPT that you are a teaching assistant, there's already prefix on it teaching me. And I can answer these questions and these kind of things. And look at this too. I said, like, don't be mean. I'm not confident. If you feel unsure, that's okay. Let me know, and I'll help explain it step by step. It has a link to a diagram. That's really not working, but it has a link to a diagram here. It's even reassuring me because I need the language to support my learning. So that's an example of what I say is use ChatGPT But if you're a student, the goal that you have is learning. Use ChatGPT to learn and not to do something for you.
Thank you very much, sir. And I really appreciate and like how you was able to break it down, because even myself learning about the objectives, typing in the objectives, giving it parameters, feeding into ChatGPT what you wanted to give you, so it could be specific. So I know that the boys taking pictures, and thanks again very much.
Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, I'm happy to share these notes and everything afterwards. Those are the key things. This is like this prompt engineering. I'm glad you also recapped it. That means it's stuck in your head. Objectives, rule persona, rules and behavior, the structure of the output you want. And if you can, an example. If you can, multiple examples of the output to get exactly what you need, right? Just to kind of continue, because there's a couple more things I want to close off. This is, wait, I hope, let's see. I'm going to share my presentation again. Nice. So this is actually one way to improve large language models. It's called prompt engineering, as you recall. So when the other ways to improve it, like what you call retrieval augment generation, fine tuning and training, they're a bit more technical. They're things I have to do, again, with my AI product that I have to kind of get into. But I just want you to know that it exists. Prompt engineering is very effective. And you can probably look at non-ChatGPT. There could be a model that's just for Caribbean exams and Caribbean studies, like Caribbean textbooks, for example. Like CX, you could create a model based on Caribbean textbooks. And that could be very trained for Caribbean education syllabus, right? So you can do different things, and these other levels kind of help with that. But what you looked at is prompt engineering, and that's like the whole thing of defining the model, defining the rule and the objectives and these kind of things, and getting a better response from ChatGPT. But the rabbit hole goes deeper. If someone is super technical, by all means, reach out to me and jump into it. This is like a little starting point for you. And just very quickly on what's next. So we had an example I showed you of me writing an AI assistant to generate cover letters. The next cool thing is having an AI agent apply for jobs for me. To go on the website and be like, this is Marcus CV. Let me generate a cover letter for this job description. Let me put that cover letter in a document file or PDF and upload it for Marcus, right? And actually, AI agents already exist. I have played around a little bit with Auto GPT. So they do exist already. I think more and more, we're going to see AI agents helping us do certain jobs. You could imagine like homework reminders for Mr. Bartholomew and these kind of things, or like a flag for, hey, Mr. Bartholomew, this student isn't paying attention or something, or this student is attending less, check him out, and probably sends a WhatsApp message on your behalf to reach out to the student or the student's parents or something like that. AI agents are going to play a huge part in what's coming up next. I think that's the very exciting bits that like in the next 3 years, it's going to be kind of wild of what we can do. Also, I think in the future, we have this question about jobs. If AI could do my jobs, what would I do? I couldn't find the quote. There was a really interesting quote from Times Magazine about automation replacing all the jobs and being a destructive force, and that quote came out in 1961. We've been finding ways to automate jobs all the time. So far, the more of my job that is automated, the more work I'm expected to do. So if I can do more things, employees want more things. We don't know the future. I won't be like optimistic and naive and say like, oh, all jobs going to stay the same. People have already lost jobs because of AI. However, I would argue when you see those mass layoffs and people say AI, and the company is really close to going on the stock market, an initial public offering, or the company is really close to its financial year, and they want to show it's being efficient to shareholders so that the CEO gets a raise. Again, human behavior has been cutting jobs and trying to cheapen things all the time. It may not just be AI is the reason why people cut jobs. It could just be the greedy agents in capitalism doing what they do. So we don't know the future. We don't know how it looks like with jobs. I think at this stage, you're probably going to see large language models, that type of AI, just being included more in your day-to-day life and kind of everything. You see, like you interacting with, I guess, the computer systems more and more in natural language, and you kind of have more productivity gains. Just very briefly, I just kind of wanted to, I use ChatGPT on this thing. However, I just kind of wanted to say like there's ChatGPT, there's also Claude from Anthropic, there's Google Gemini, there are alternatives. You can spend some time trying them out and everything. ChatGPT for me is really good general purpose thing, but it's not the only one. There are task-specific ones, like I use Codium to write my code for me. I just tell it what code I want to write, and I just kind of test and verify it now. There's Boba AI. If you want to develop a new product, you kind of have this AI tool that's really fine-tuned to like build startups and stuff like that. There's Fireflies for note-taking and transcriptions and sending like updates and tasks for people based on the meeting. So there's a lot of different tools there that can be used. Yeah, out of scope for this thing, but definitely explore. And they change so often. Like, be sure to explore every month or so and see what's like the fun thing, because these tools could kind of automate a boring part of your life as well. So yeah, have a look at those tools, and feel free to reach out. I'll put up 2 QR codes. You can add me on LinkedIn. I have like ridiculously horrible response times to messages. I probably will get there. I mean, Abigail don't watch my cut time, as I say that. I probably will get there. But so just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I have like a website as well. But yeah, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for following the demonstration. I know it's nearly that 2-hour point. Feel free to ask more questions, and yeah, happy to hear from you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Oh, I see your hand raised. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to tell them I'm putting the feedback form in the chat.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And it will also allow us to get your information so that we could send you the YouTube link to the recording and just give us some feedback so that we can improve sessions going forward. So I'm just going to put the feedback form in the chat. So if you could sign it up, we will be very grateful. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I see a question from Jordan.
Hi, good day, sir. Thank you. I'm Jordan John. So I'm sure you're aware of Notebook LM, and during this presentation, you used heavily ChatGPT. Would you say that there's a difference between them? One have more benefits than the other?
So right, so it depends, right? Like you have Notebook LM, which is I guess for note taking and summarizing and these kind of things. I would say use it for your purpose, right? So in my case, and this example, like this real life example, I want ChatGPT to write cover letters for me. I tried out, what I didn't say is like I did try out Google Gemini, I did try out Claude and ChatGPT and some other things. I was very happy with the output I got from ChatGPT compared to the others. So that's why I did it. I think comparing like different tools, they do change over time. It really depends on your workflow and how you experiment with things and these kind of things. Like an example I would give is like I used to use GitHub Copilot. I actually didn't enjoy it too much. I stopped paying for it. I tried one called Codium. I really enjoyed the experience with that, and I pay for that, and that's for me to write code. So it's not that one is better than the other, like in like a total sense. That's kind of rare with the major players, but there may be use cases to use one more than the other, and that kind of depends on you and your workflow. Like for example, if I'm a cover letter is perfect for ChatGPT. If I want to talk about something like code related or system design wise with coding, I'm actually going to use Claude by default because in my experience, Claude has been much better for me anytime I ask it about code. So for code, I always go to Claude. For these kind of creative writing or process-based writing things, I go to ChatGPT. again, you can use Notebook for like these kind of super note taking and these auto transcriptions. It depends on your use case and your workflow. So that's the thing. It's like a fun time where there's not one winner takes all. Experiment and find what works for you. Sorry, it's not like a real answer, but it's for me it's the truth. Any more questions about it?
Just want to encourage people to fill out the feedback form so that we will be able to send the recording to them. So far, we have 2 responses out of 25 people. Come on, people, you can do better than that.
And oh yeah, see yeah, Jordan, you raise your hand again.
Right. Sorry if this is a bit personal, but like, how did you go from Trinidad to a university in Scotland to start studying AI?
How you make that? You talking stupidness? I'm joking. I know. Yeah, no. So at the end of give thanks to God the Father, all the blessings we have. I went to a really good school that wanted scholarships and essentially nurtured me. All the teachers and the principal went out an extra way to make sure that my grades were up. And I got a national scholarship. Studying in Scotland is quite expensive, so that kind of covered the cost. Your grades that you get into UE would probably get you into University of Edinburgh as well. I think we probably don't give yourself enough credit for how good we are. A levels in the Caribbean are very equivalent, if not more, than A levels in the UK, or certain types of A levels in the UK. So you do qualify with KPA levels. The national scholarship was how I was able to afford to go there because it's a lot of money and it's only gotten worse since. So that's why I ended up doing AI. The scholarship doesn't have bounds on where you can study. And like I said, I played a lot of games with robots and AI stuff. So I'm like, wow, there's a degree in AI. I'm definitely going to study it because I'm not paying for it. So the worst case is I fail, but at least I won't be broke. And yeah, that's the key thing. So that's how I end up studying in Scotland. I'm looking to do my master's actually to kind of get more foundational knowledge next year. Please go on.
Next question is there a reason why you chose that university specifically?
Sure. Yeah, simply because I felt like I wanted to look at AI. They have had the Department of Informatics since the 1970s, and they are one of the lead. When I applied, University of Edinburgh was the top comp sci school in the UK, like higher ranked than Cambridge and everything else. However, I actually visited there. They always had a huge AI department. There's literally like Amazon really close by to the university, and they always hire students for the machine learning things. They have a lot of robotics themselves. Like one of my projects was like controlling a robot to play football in 3rd year and these kind of things. So they still have a very strong research heavy and kind of like teachers and professors who are experts in artificial intelligence and other programming topics. I think you kind of, when you're choosing like where to study, try to look at the research of an institution to kind of help that guide you if it's an option. So like I'm glad like they happen to be really like ahead of the curve with AI things, or at least always on the ball with it. They haven't been left behind. So yeah. I didn't go to Scotland for the weather. It was pretty horrible there actually. Mr. Bartholomew.
Hey, so does it mean that we are still very much limited locally as well as within the Caribbean, where to progress into AI institutions is kind of on the lower end?
No, I think the biggest limiting factor for Trinidad and Tobago and more people getting into AI is their access to credit and USD. Because we have to pay for these things in USD. Like if you want to use ChatGPT Pro, it's 20 US a month. If you don't have a credit card that can do that, you have to jump through hoops. In terms of the accessibility of it, I know local developers who literally read the papers on Transformers, which kind of the deep learning part of ChatGPT, and start doing their own large language models themselves. Initiative pays off anything. A lot of the information is like free and available online. And you can also ask ChatGPT to teach you and fill the gaps. So I think the problems at Trinidad might be like crime, the economy, and these kind of things. Those are the typical problems that need to get solved. The capacity of individuals to do really fun things is still there. And the like that ability, for example, the company I have, you build, you allow to type what game you want, and it builds the game for it. And like literally in one day, I built a prototype that did the exact same thing for a different game engine. And that's, even though I'm familiar with how it works, that's me like starting from scratch, intentionally starting from scratch. So in theory, someone can prototype the product I'm building in a day as well if they have the initiative and everything else. Of course, to actually make it a product is a lot more work. But to the capacity to do fun things and to do really cool things with AI is really close to someone. The best thing, what they have to be is to be like have initiative and be autonomous. You don't even have to be super technical to start. You just have to have the drive to see it through.
Okay, cool. What about UTT, UE? Are they developing programs along the lines of AI that students that we can access?
I can't speak for UTT, but I know UE in particular has, like for example, their undergrad has AI courses, their masters in data science, statistics, and a lot of analysis and overlap a lot of AI tools. Remember how I keep explaining that AI is math functions and these kind of things? They go through that in a lot more depth. I know at the postgraduate level for sure, and there's a lot of AI research come out of UE. So that's the one I'm like familiar with because I'm applying for that master's myself. I'm not too sure exactly about the entire landscape around the country, but I know there is an avenue here to get deeper into how AI works and what can be done with it right here at home. And of course, the same for Jamaica as well. Jamaica's UWI campus has a pretty good master's in computer science that kind of goes through. I didn't check Barbados, but Jamaica has a good tech industry and some good, again, autonomous people who are doing some really cool things with AI in the Caribbean. Yeah, I don't think I see any more questions. Is that all good? Abigail, what say you?
Okay, I think so. We're closing in on the 2 p.m. mark, and I know persons probably have their Sunday lunch awaiting them.
Me?
Right? Everybody lunch by Marcus. So I'd just like to thank Marcus again for his very informative presentation. So I just going through my notes here. We learned about that you have computer science, you have artificial intelligence, you have your machine language, you have your deep learning, you have your LLMs, right? Basically, machine learning is data input, put in through some math functions and giving you your output. Then you have your deep learning, which is again putting in your input, again processing with some mathematical models, and I think you're putting it through a number of networks to maybe refine what is the output, and you have some pattern matching going on. And he gave a example. If you have a lady who's a nurse in a hospital, he gave us a sort of visual where if the computer sees the pattern where you have a lady in a hospital is is a nurse, so it will kind of give you that answer. If she's a lady and she's in a hospital, she's probably a nurse. So it looks at all those patterns to come up with the answer, because computers are not really smart. They are trained on data, right? And then he went on to say you have your learning language models, right? Which uses math to loosely mimic how the brain works, right? After that, he went into so basically the LLM treats words as math. right? And our words are sort of represented using mathematics and vectors. So if the nurse and the hospital were close by, that kind of thing. Then he went into using ChatGPT and showing us how ChatGPT could be, showing us how ChatGPT could be trained. And the example that he used was a cover letter, right? And basically what he's saying is that if you have to create a custom GPT, you should have an objective, you should have a role, you're telling them who you are a student, or you're searching for a job or anything like that. And he also said to make it write more like you can give it some examples, and you could even label the example saying, this is the cover letter I used to get this job, and you give it the job description, right? And you could use ChatGPT to automate. So that's one of the objectives for this particular Lunch and Learn. We wanted to find out how can we use AI to make our lives simpler. So you can use ChatGPT to automate some very tedious functions. So for instance, writing a cover letter, but then he went on to say that you can write custom GPTs, and this was particularly for the students, not to do the work for you, but to teach you topics, right? So that you could use ChatGPT very creatively to teach you a particular topic that you're doing in school, and stuff like that. Then, we met Mr. Bartholomew, some very interesting questions there from Mr. Bartholomew. Basically, he spoke about SBAs, how ChatGPT could be used for SBAs and reports, and Marcus again highlighted that you could use ChatGPT to help you learn a topic, and he went through what are some of the prompts you could do, your role or who you are. I'm a Form 5 student. What is your objective? I want to learn biology. And again, describing your role. Be gentle, I am not confident. And then we heard some very interesting questions from the students themselves. Thank you very much. And I encourage everyone to just fill out the form so that we'll be able to send you the slides and also the recording. Some very interesting questions from students in terms of careers in AI, as well as what are some of the qualifications available here and abroad, or what are some of the opportunities available here and abroad in terms of studying AI. And if you wanted to study AI abroad, what was some of the roadmaps that you could follow. So I just want to thank everybody again. Thanks very much, Marcus. Thanks also to the Click to Start team. Matthew and Summer, very instrumental in helping us pull this all together. Want to big up Amilcar Sanatan. He here as Marcus' brother. I saw him here. So thanks very much for joining us. And again, I'm just going to copy the link for the form. We would really greatly appreciate some of your feedback. We would like to have similar AI sessions. So if you give us your email, we'll be able to let you know when those are going to happen, as well as send you the slides and the recordings. And I'm also going to, so I have to get some QR codes like Marcus there. Marcus put them to shame. But one good thing about IT professionals conversing with other IT professionals, they raise the bar, so he raised the bar, so now I have to put everything in Q code. Thanks very much, right? So again, Marcus, right? So thanks everybody very much for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. Thank you for your class for joining us, and we hope to see you again, right, Marcus? Very good luck in your new business. If you need any of us to help you or whatever, just let us know. And we hope when things settle down with you, maybe you'll do a little lunch and learn on games, your favorite topic or something like that. So if we have
then it will never end. Not the problem, but yeah.
Right. So if we have no more questions, we would, if you need employees. Oh, and somebody, Jordan, put in a little, Jordan, use GPT to do that cover letter, and you could send it to him. So thanks everybody for your time, and do have a blessed season. We're going into the Advent season and the Christmas season. Christmas is the only season where we have a conspiracy of love to love everyone, right? And really do something good for someone for this Christmas. Okay, everybody, cheers. Bye. See you next time.